Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, recently there has been a video floating over the internet. Uh, a speaker, Suvyakta Narasimha Dāsa, he has raised critical questions regarding the process of deity worship in the Krishna consciousness movement. He claims that these are deviations from the standards actually introduced by Srila Prabhupada. So, we would like to dive into what Prabhuji has asked. So basically, Suvyakta Narasimha Dāsa has raised two core objections regarding the process of deity worship that is being followed in ISKCON today. First thing is the Bhoga offering protocol. The temple practice of offering bhoga directly to Lord Krishna first and subsequently offering the remnants of prasad to Guru is argued to be a reversal of the necessary ascending order taught by Srila Prabhupada. Food must first be offered to the Guru for him to present it to Krishna. So the understanding is that the food is offered to the Guru and Guru offers it to Krishna and Guru also honors the Mahaprasadam. So there is no separate offering made to the spiritual master. So the author has given a couple of quotes of Srila Prabhupada to establish that, and also quotes from Pancharatra Pradipa, which seems to conflict this understanding. The second objection raised is the Arati standards. So, presently in the temples, when the lamp is offered, it is offered 4 times to the lotus feet of the Lord, 2 times to the lotus navel, 3 times to the lotus face, and 7 times as a whole to the body of the Lord. So, the author claims that this is an unauthorized addition contradicting Prabhupada's initial simple instruction to offer all items 7 times. So, this further goes more deep. For example, anything we offer to the Lord in Arati is, as per the speaker, completely to be offered to the spiritual master. I mean, if you are offering the agarbatti should be completely offered to the spiritual master, and then it goes up, and finally, the Lord is the ultimate person who is to be offered at the end, each item. So, this is the understanding that the speaker has derived from a couple of quotes of Prabhupada. So, how to understand this? What is right and what is the right way of knowing things? See, before going into that, we should get into some basics. Every bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya has specific rules for deity worship, and these are outlined in granthas like Tantra Shastras, etc. And they actually give the rules of deity worship, the rules of devotional service. So, if we see, every Sampradaya has a specific set of granthas dedicated for this, the process of Archa Vigraha Seva. In the Sampradaya of Madhvacharya, it is the Tantrasara Sangraha and Padyamala, or the commentary by Jaitirtha Muni, which is the standard book for this purpose. In the Shri Sampradaya of Ramanujacharya, works like Parama Samhita, Ishwara Samhita, Padma Samhita is also included in this. So these are the works that are referred to whenever it comes to deity worship. So what is it for the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya? So, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya accepts the Hari Bhakti Vilasa as the standard for when it comes to deity worship. This is what Srila Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 3, purport. Srila Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother Sanatana Goswami has compiled Hari Bhakti Vilasa for the guidance of Vaishnavas and has therein mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important and prominent, and he will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Srila Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only basic principles, not the details. So, here the importance of Hari Bhakti Vilasa is highlighted, where Rupa Goswami is also consulting the Grantha for basics of devotional service. Now, what was Prabhupada's stand on the process of deity worship? How are we to learn? What are the procedures to be followed? Is there any guideline that he has given? Or is it that we have to derive things on our own? So, what is the procedure? So, here it is. Now, beginning from this year's Mayapur festival, the devotees will begin preparing for the Bhakti Shastri examination. Therefore, we require a guidebook for deity worship, Arcana-paddhati, based on Hari Bhakti Vilasa. All Brahmanas will be responsible to learn this book. I would like to have the manuscript ready as soon as possible, preferably by Gaur Purnima. So please work diligently for this. Pradyumna began this, but I do not know what he has done with this work. Letter to Nitai, 9th January 1976, Bombay. So in the closing years of Prabhupada's physical presence in this mortal world, he wanted to give very clear guidelines for the Krishna consciousness movement. And when it comes to deity worship, Prabhupada has emphasized that devotees take guidance from this book, Arcana-paddhati. Actually, Arcana-paddhati was initially released in the Gaudiya Math. It was printed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And later on, uh, uh, Prabhupada wanted his disciples to translate it and use it, and that is where he is pushing his disciple Nitai to work on it. So Prabhupada is very clear about the direction for the Krishna consciousness movement. So Prabhupada, especially about deity worship, he was very particular that the highest standards have to be followed for deity worship. And how are we going to get the highest standards? He has instructed that devotees refer to Archana Paddhati, and he ensured that it was translated. Personally, he got it translated so that it will be a guide for ISKCON devotees. Archana Paddhati is clearly based on Hari Bhakti Vilasa. That's what Prabhupada says elsewhere. So, Hari Bhakti Vilasa is the Tantra Granth, is the literature that guides us about deity worship, and Archana Paddhati is exactly based on Hari Bhakti Vilasa. So he expected that devotees in ISKCON follow this system given by him and not manufacture anything themselves. So Krishna clearly says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yashastra vidyam utsrujya vartate kamakarata nasasiddhim avapnoti nasukham naparam gatim. One who does not follow the injunctions of the Shastras will neither get perfection nor happiness nor eternal destination. Tasmad Shastra Pramanamte Karya Karya Vyavasthitu. So whatever has to be done based on the Shastra Pramanas, based on the directions of Shastras. So in this regard, there is in Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, there is a beautiful shloka. ऋषिभिर बहुधा गीतम छंदोभिर विविध पृथक ब्रह्मसूत्र पदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर विनिश्चितम. What is to be done and what is not to be done, this has to be understood by three ways. Which are the three ways? Rishibhir Bahuda Geetam, the words of the sages. So the words of the sages can mean the authority of the Puranas, because Puranas are basically the recitations of the sages. It can also mean the words of great sages like Parashara Muni. It can also mean the words of pure devotees. Next, Chandobhi, the verbs of the Vedas. Vedas are apaurushiya, they are not man-made. And so they are perfect. They don't have the four defects of humans. So that is why the Vedas have to be consulted. And how to understand what sections, how to understand the difficult sections of the Vedas, for that Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva. So the author himself, the Vedavyasa, has given Brahma Sutras, the codes by which we can actually derive a system of logic to understand this Shastra. So there is a very systematic way of understanding these things. So unless we are exposed to this systematic way, we are not going to arrive at a proper conclusion to this just by picking a few quotes from here and there. So Prabhupada emphasized the importance of Shastras. And among the Shastras, for the process of deity worship, Prabhupada emphasized Hari Bhakti Vilasa. And as a summary of Hari Bhakti Vilasa, Prabhupada gave Archana Paddhati. So in this way, very systematically, Prabhupada has given a manual for the process of deity worship. Now, What does Arcana-paddhati say regarding the posed questions? This is what is written in Arcana-paddhati. Before each Arati, there is an offering of Bhoga foodstuffs. This offering of foodstuffs before the Mangala Arati is the Balya Bhoga and consists entirely of sweets. There is an offering before the Shringara Arati and offering before the morning Dhup Arati. At midday, there is the Raja Bhoga offering. In the late afternoon, there is a Vaidika Bhoga offering, Vaikalika Bhoga offering. Before the Sandhya Arati, there is the Bhoga offering, and before the Shayana Arati in the evening, the the Arati Bhoga offering. It is preferable that each deity, including the spiritual master, should have their own plates and their own asanas to sit on while they take their meal. The plates should be placed on a small individual low table placed on the floor before each deity. If it is not possible to offer a plate and an asana for each deity, then one must place an asana. Then one plate and asana may be provided for each altar, except that separate places should be offered to the spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya. This is mentioned in Arcana-paddhati offering Bhoga, page 3. So, Arcana-paddhati, the book recommended by by Srila Prabhupada, quite clearly mentions that one must have a separate offering plate for the deities, for the spiritual master, for Lord Chaitanya. Now, there are different things that we can derive out of this. One quote shared by Prabhuji, that everything has to be offered to the Guru and the Guru offers it to Krishna. Definitely, it's the right principle. There is absolutely no question about that. Now, can we derive the whole process of Archana Vidhi taking this one quote? Let us see what are the problems associated with that. So, if I bring the offering plate, or if I offer the Arati, Agarbatti, or the Thupa, or the Deepa to the spiritual master first, is that the right principle? I am offering to the spiritual master, and spiritual master is honoring something which is not even prasadam yet. So, one way of dealing with this is one remembers his spiritual master while offering to the Lord. So, he should understand that his initiation is because of the mercy of the spiritual master. So, the spiritual master has given him initiation, and it is only through the spiritual master that any offering can be, the mantras that are given by the spiritual master, only through that any offering can be done. That is why even after the Gayatri, before the Shodashopchar Puja, the spiritual master is to be remembered. So, if one remembers the spiritual master and offers obeisances to him, that is the right principle. Now, before the Shodashopchara Puja, that is to be done after Mangalarti in the morning, a person, a pujari is supposed to take blessings of the spiritual master. So he is first, suppose after the Gayatri, after the morning Gayatri, he is supposed to first offer obeisances and prayers to his spiritual master, and then go ahead with the Shodashopchara Puja. Because without the mercy of the spiritual master, it's not possible to worship the deities. So that is also correct in principle. Now, Hari Bhakti Vilasa and Arcana-paddhati based on that. Uh, what they recommend is that the after taking the spiritual master's permission and blessings, a disciple offers the Shodashopchara to the deity, and at the end the Mahaprasada of that is again offered to the spiritual master. So this is the formal practice that is there in Gaudiya tradition, or all traditions, all Vaishnava traditions, that the Lord is served and the Mahaprasad of the Lord is offered to the spiritual master with the Mula Mantra of the spiritual master. So that is the procedure that is recommended in these Shastras. Now, what are the problems in following the system that is recommended by our Suvyakta Narasimha Prabhu? So, first thing is it conflicts with Hari Bhakti Vilasa, and hence it conflicts with Arcana-paddhati. Mind you, I'm not saying that the Prabhupada's quote conflicts, but the derivation that is come out, that one should directly offer everything for the spiritual master, for his what do you say, for to be surrendered completely to him. That principle has a problem. So it raises two questions. Can the Mahaprasad of the Guru be offered to Krishna, because you are offering the agarbatti to the Guru completely. Then it becomes Mahaprasada. Can that Mahaprasada be then be offered to Krishna? Second, can the Guru accept an offering which is not Mahaprasada, which is not yet offered to the Krishna? So none of these thoughts are actually authorized by Shastra, nor are they recommended by Srila Prabhupada. But unfortunately, when you cherry pick up a couple of quotes and derive the whole process of deity worship based on those quotes, then that becomes something really wrong. So, these are the things we should actually understand based on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Then actually the confusion will be solved. Okay, this is something maybe understood. What about the explicit quote of every item should be offered 7 times to the Lord? So here it is the quote. The Arati is performed at 1.5 hours before sunrise to awaken the deities. Each offering is made by moving it in 7 big circles, starting at the lotus feet of the Lord and then going clockwise around. First of all, burning camphor or ghee, 5 fires if possible, is offered in this way, slowly circling them before the Lord. Letter to Aniruddha, November 14, 1968, Los Angeles. So, this seems to be a quite equivocal and a clear instruction that this system has to be followed. And why is it that the GBC is following something different? So, now, what is mentioned in Archana Paddhati in this regard? Let us see. The camphor is offered only at Bhoga Arati. It is offered 4 times at the lotus feet, twice at the navel region, 3 times to the lotus base, and 7 times to all the limbs. The ghee lamp is offered in the same way as the camphor lamp, but at every full arati. Archana Paddhati, offering arati, page 6. Okay. Archana Paddhati says, is there a Shastra Pramana for this? Yes, we should also take things based on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras. That's what we had discussed earlier. So, Brahma Vaivarta Purana says this. Adau Chatush Padat Talaika Deshe Dvau Nabhi Deshe Cha Mukhamandale Trin Sarveshu Gateshu Cha Saptavaran Artikam Tan Munayo Vadanti. The sages have stated that firstly, one must offer the arati 4 times at the lotus feet of the Lord, then twice at the lotus navel region, 3 times at the lotus face, and 7 times to the whole body. This is quoted in this is a shloka from the Brahma Vivarta Purana. This is quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami Pada in Sutra Upasana Vaishnava Puja Vidhi. So there is a Shastra Pramana also to have this system. Now comes the conflict as to why there are two things, how to understand now. On one hand, Prabhupada has said that all the items should be offered 7 times. And on the other hand, Prabhupada has said to follow the Archana Paddhati. And in the Archana Paddhati, it is the 4-2-3-7 formula. Now, in fact, the disciple is in a dilemma as to what he should do to follow Prabhupada, because if he follows the 4-7 formula, seems to be violating the all 7 items quote which Prabhupada has said. If he is following the all 7 items formula, then he seems to be violating the Prabhupada's instruction to follow the Archana Paddhati, which clearly states that this is the sequence of offering. So, how to understand? Is there a way to resolve this conflict? So, one thing to keep in mind is that both instructions are there, and when both are conflicting, it has to be resolved, and not just that one takes up whatever he feels. That is one of the problems. There are Shastras have defined different ways in which conflicts of instructions can be resolved. The whole Mimamsa Shastra is meant for that. Sometimes there will be conflicts into Vedic instructions, there will be conflict between Vedas and Puranas, and then there will be conflicts between Shastra and Sadhu, and within Sadhu there will be conflict. So, how to resolve these things? There is a whole system which has to be understood. So, that system is called Samanvaya. Tattu Samanvayat is a Brahma Sutra. So everything has to be done in samanvaya. So therefore, the difference in standards is explained by Prabhupada wanting to first engage his neophyte disciples in practical deity worship without burdening them with more complex regulations. His later instructions to follow Arcana-paddhati was the ultimate command, signifying his desire for the society to adopt the highest non-deviating Shastric Pramana as the permanent institutional standard. A disciple who adopts the full Shastric practice is therefore perfectly aligned with the Founder-Ācārya's final matured vision for his movement. So, here Prabhupada's unequivocal instruction that Archana Paddhati has to be followed comes at a time when he is establishing a Brahmana society. So, Prabhupada mentioned this in the context of Bhakti Shastri that a person as a devotee study Bhakti Shastri, there should be a manual for learning deity worship, and that manual will be Archana Paddhati. It will teach us the process of deity worship, the system of deity worship. So Prabhupada really wanted to standardize all these things and not just leave it to pick up a few quotes and derive a philosophy out of it. If you see, when the first Bhakti Shastri was conducted, Prabhupada had given 10 questions, and anyone who answers that will be considered Bhakti Shastri. However, gradually Prabhupada made a standard that these are the four books that are to be studied for Bhakti Shastri, and then there will be Srimad Bhagavatam for Bhakti Vaibhava and Chaitanya Charitamrita for Bhakti Vedanta. Prabhupada, in fact, writes further that eventually our Bhakti Vaibhava should culminate in the study of Brahma Sutras. So, Prabhupada has a plan of progression where the amount of scholarship, the amount of intellect, the amount of Brahminical knowledge goes on increasing in Krishna conscious society. So, a disciple is expected to maturely understand the words of the Acharya, the instructions of the Acharya, the system that he wants in place. Okay, initially when if you see the first time when deity worship was introduced in San Francisco, candles were available and Prabhupada made the disciples offer candles to the Lord. Gradually he standardized some systems of deity worship like offering and other things. And in this context, he introduced this Arati that you have a proper standard of Arati, everything is offered 7 times. However, gradually, when it comes to 1976, when he wants to bring a proper standard, he wanted the disciples to follow Arcana-paddhati, which is a further progress in this regard. Just like Bhakti Shastri, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Ishopanishad brings a clearly scholarly aptitude among disciples, and by the study of Bhagavatam, they are further enriched in philosophy. So Prabhupada wanted that strong philosophical backbone for the society. Similarly, here when it comes to Archana, he wanted a very strong backbone for the society, and that is why he instructed this. So it could make more sense that devotees kindly refer to these books and make a deep study of what actually Prabhupada recommended, what Prabhupada wanted, and then try to introduce those standards for the process of deity worship. Then it will make more sense. Otherwise, if we are picking up a few quotes and trying to derive a philosophy out of that, then we will be actually going nowhere. We will never be able to arrive at the right conclusion despite all our efforts. So, Archana Paddhati is clearly based on Hari Bhakti Vilasa, and Hari Bhakti Vilasa is a very big manual on every aspect of deity worship. So, and a detailed study of this is necessary for the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. At ISKCON India Scholars Board, we are trying to get into a deep study of these things and guide the Krishna conscious society in this regard. So I request all devotees to kindly make a deep study of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, Srila Prabhupada books, and not be misled by just some false propaganda or some half what do you say, picking up some quotes here and there, and based on that trying to come up with some complete philosophy. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.